Hi guys, and welcome to my little trip on in Train Sim World. I'm just going to take this 166 up from London Paddington to Twyford. It's actually a Henley-on-Thames train. I brought it in earlier from Maidenhead and then just changed ends and take it back out on this service. The head code of this service is 1 Hotel 54 if you've got a timetable, that is. Or if you get it in the service mode, but I've managed to get access to a service mode timetable because someone's kindly put one together, and that's been really good. So yeah, I'm just waiting for departure there now. So yeah, as you can see, the next stop is Maidenhead. Now I'll try and play this game with all the safety features on, and I try as best as possible to manually control everything using the cursors, try not to use the shortcuts on the joypad. So yeah, can't see the signal. The only frustrating thing now is you can't see the signal as you depart, so you have to trust the fact that the signal's off. So yeah, so I'll open up anyway. I tend to just open up on my way out. Let a bit of power go in. You come out of pad. It always says maximum speed 40, so you just parry out. It's strange, even though it's 25 into the station, it's 40 going out. But I suppose you never get to 40 really by the time you come out the station. So yeah, so this is an interesting service. So according to the timetable, this is 1 Hotel 54 1905 London Paddington to Henley-on-Thames, but you can take it as far as Twyford in the simulator. Now looking at the timetable here, a train went out in front, 2 Romeo 71, the 1858 Paddington to Reading, which virtually stops everywhere. It's right away in Broadway, then it stops at Southall and all stations to Reading. Now look at the timings, we are 3 minutes behind it at Maidenhead. So although at the moment we've crossed over onto crossing over onto the fast lines, my gut instinct is telling me that we are more than likely going to end up going up the relief lines and following this non-stop all the way up to Maidenhead, which, well, could make for an interesting drive. So we'll see. I mean, I've as you can see from the HUD, I have it quite advanced. I don't have the signal aspect showing. I don't have the speed markers showing. Yeah, look, we're going back over onto the relief lines. Look. So yeah. So, but I still need some sort of indication of where the objectives are, to a certain degree at least. Although I've played it to death, so I pretty much know where all the stations are now and know all the stones. It's still nice just to have that sort of little reminder of how far away things are. I still get although again I know where the signals are. I've sort of guessed where the signals are now. It's still nice to know the distances, speeds. Again, here we go. Look, so we're going over again, and I mean it's quite a quick junction going over. So speeds again, it's nice to know exactly where they are. But again, I've started to learn where they are. So yeah, so I'm going to try and go through this using manual control. So basically trying to keep control. Oh, I'm going a bit too quick there. With the 166. The 166 compared to the HST and the 66 is relatively easy to do on manual control. For those that you don't know, this is the PlayStation version, of course. If you click down on R3, your right stick, it comes up with that cursor. So it means you can move, you can keep the camera at the angle where it is, and you can move the cursor around the cab to grab what's what. So yeah, the 166 has one single controller, so that's good. So it's all one up and down. Obviously you also have door controls. You have actual door control buttons, whereas the HST doesn't, so you still have to use the shortcuts to open the doors. Now as you can see, you probably see that my cursor's down there on the floor, which is the DSD pedal. That's the vigilance. Because I have all the safety systems on, if you don't touch any of the control, you don't touch the controller within a certain amount of time, the vigilance will beep. So every so often, as you can see, so I ain't got to rush around trying to find it. I'll keep pushing down on the DSD. I usually do it every time I go past a signal. So I'll push down on the DSD just to ensure that you know, the beep doesn't stop and I don't get distracted, because if you don't cancel it, the brakes will come on, etc. So it's that realistic, it will do that. So like I say, I'll try and keep yourself hovered around the safety system. So the AWS is the big yellow plunger in the middle of the console there. So the AWS, for those that don't know, I suppose I better quickly explain for people who are new to this. Those that don't know, the AWS is the automatic warning system. So the automatic warning system, basically, there's a magnet that sits in between the rails. As you approach a signal, it will give off a sound. So if it is a clear aspect, a green signal, it will be a chime or a bell, as it's called. If it's a restrictive aspect, which is your reds and your yellows, it will make what they call it a horn, but it's a continuous sound which you need to acknowledge by pushing the button on the AWS button, which is that big yellow plunger. They're also just to help you know. So as a reminder, there's also what they call a sunflower. So the sunflower is you won't see it yet because it's too dark, but just to the right side of the speedometer, where them two red and yellow buttons are, just to the top, just above the AWS, there's like a circle which has yellow and black, and they call it a sunflower. So when you actually push the AWS, it brings that on, just to remind you that you've obviously used to cancel it. Now you also get AWSs for when you go over PSR reminder. So when there's a reduction in speed, you also get an AWS which you have to cancel regardless, just so it's reminding you that you're going to have to slow down. Now, unfortunately, on this game, it's a bit inconsistent. You don't get PSR reminders or sometimes even magnets for all of them, so you have to be quite vigilant. I've managed to pick up now where you do get them, where you don't. And also there's some erroneous, or they're not erroneous, but there's some bad AWS. That's probably not the right term, so if anyone wants to correct, that's fine. Like there's one approaching Slough on the up main. There's like 2 AWS magnets. I think it's just to remind you, of your speed. Those circular, they look like high speed. If you're a driver, they look like if you're a car driver, they look like national speed limit. Those circles are called banner repeaters. So if they are diagonal position and white, it means that the signal is off, but it's restricted off. And more recently, because it never always used to be the case, if they're green, it means your signal's green, which is really good. The issue with TSW is that it doesn't have flashing yellows. So if no one knows what flashing yellows are where you're approaching a high-speed junction on a restrictive aspect, but you know that the signal, the route would be ready to be set. However, this doesn't do that. It reduces your. Oh, I'm going too quick. Better slow down. I keep forgetting it's 80 until the other side of Hanwell, basically. So yeah, you need to. Yeah, so you so you need to sorry, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, so I forgot what I was saying, so I do apologise. So this looks like Hanwell. Yep. So restrictive aspects now. So we've caught that stopper up. So that stopper stopped at Ealing Broadway, and then I think he stops all stations. Did I say he stopped all stations? I can't remember. 1858. Yeah. Oh no. So he stops at Ealing Broadway. Then he was right away to Southall, which is the next station, which is why we get restrictive aspects. So my challenge with this then is to try not to stop. So it looks like we're going to be following this all the way up the relief lines. I doubt they're going to get looking at the timetable. We don't seem to proceed it. So hopefully, I get slowed down a bit now. So obviously I'm taking it really steady. I don't want to stop. I want to try and keep the train moving as best as possible. I mean, yeah, I might have to crawl, but so as you can see there, above the AWS, obviously I cancelled it earlier. You've got the sunflower, the yellow and black display. That is to remind you that you've had to physically cancel the AWS. So we've got another proceed aspect there, but it's only it's a restrictive aspect. Looks like a single yellow. So the train's obviously proceeding from Southall. The next stop will be Hayes and Harlington. So I think what we've got to realise here, I think you would do in real life as a driver, especially if you know the service inside out, is that you know you're following a stopping train, and if you know your timetable, then you'll know that stops all stations, or pretty much all stations. So there is no need to rush your timetable to follow it. Okay, it's when it starts running late, or there's late running, or there's disruption, that things can vary slightly. But obviously TSW doesn't really run like that unless you're running late yourself. it's pretty much everything's pretty much on time. So it's just a case of keeping the train under control. The 166 is relatively responsive. It will brake quite quick, and the acceleration up to about 30-40 is pretty quick, and then it kind of peters off slightly. So you want to kind of try to keep the train under control, just approaching safe 4 now. What I'm trying to do is hold back as best as possible so that I get a better step up of signals. Because it doesn't make any odds. If I put my foot down and I end up slamming the brakes on, and put my foot down and end up slamming my brakes on. But that's just going to be more frustrating. Whereas if I just take it steady, so here's the AWS again, let's get that cancelled. There you go, bang, and there's a sunflower again. Got a double yellow, so he's powered off again now, but he'll be stopping at Aidan Harlington in a minute. So we know that within the next couple of signal sections, we will be approaching a red or close as damn it. So what you want to be doing in this sort of situation is keeping the train under control, where you don't want to be racing up to red signals, because obviously that's where, one, you could spad, or spar, well, it's a spad, signal past at danger, when a driver, a category A they call it in the rail industry, where when a driver physically goes past the signal. Obviously in this day and age of the TPWS, or the Train Protection Warning System, which TSW has a function of but doesn't seem to be consistent, but that's another story. Trains are stopped if they approach signals at a certain speed, or they go past a red signal, they automatically stop. The safety system stop the train where TPWS is fitted, which thankfully is pretty much most signals in the country. There's also TPWS Plus, which is a system where it reads back to further signals. So if it feels that, let's say you're on a signal yellow and it feels that you're going far too fast and you're not going to stop at the next signal, again, it will dump the brakes in. And also for speeds, like changes in speed. So if you're, I don't know, you're reducing it from 100 to 50 and you're going over, you're approaching a 50 mile an hour speed, and you're doing 80, and it's obvious you're not going to you're not going to slow down in time, it will dump the brakes and stop you, or it will stop you, and then you've got to come to a stand and it's got to reset, etc. So it's a clever system. It's obviously probably saved millions of lives well, not millions, but hundreds of lives more than likely, if you think about some of the incidents that probably happened over the years. But TPWS has come to the rescue. So yeah. Those sort of safety systems were sort of we're always going to be on the cards. So we're approaching this red now, so I want to take it steady. So what I try and do is keep the train floating. So I'm not rushing around with the controls. If I keep the train rolling, again, if you don't touch the controller, you need to reset your DSD, because regardless of what position it's in, apart from braking, because braking will come to a stand, it will try and go off. So you need to be constantly trying to reset your vigilance. The last thing you want to be doing is you're just getting ready to try and stop at a red signal, and then your vigilance starts going off, and you're like rushing around trying to cancel it. So always my sort of tip to anyone is to keep pressing that DSD pedal. Now, if you don't want to keep moving the cursor around, on the PlayStation Pad, circle pushes both the AWS and the DSD. So if you just keep tapping the circle, that is the same thing. If you are using the pad for the controls, the right, there we go, cleared to a single yellow, so we can get moving. So look at that, I haven't come to a stand, I've managed to keep moving, which is good. It would have been nice if I could have hung back slightly, because I'm so close to let it go to a double yellow, but because I'm so close to the signal, it ain't going to happen. But if I take it steady, as we approach Hayes and Harlington, hopefully, by the time I get round the corner, we might see a green. So we give that unit enough time to power up. He'll be stopping at West Drayton. West Drayton? Is it West Drayton? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, so he'll be stopping at West Drayton, so there's no point us rushing. It's literally 2 miles away from Hayes, so there's no point throwing all the power in too much, because you're going to just end up catching him up again outside, or catching them up. Sorry, I shouldn't say him in this world of equality. So yeah, train simulator or not. So yeah. Yeah, if you don't want to be messing around using the cursor to push all the bits and pieces on your pad, you've got your shoulder buttons. Your shoulder buttons on this, the right-hand ones control both your single controller. So your R2 is your power, and your R is to step up. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's to step up, and R1 is to step down. So obviously R1 will step up through your brake controller. You go up to brake and down to power. Yeah. So let's have a look. 30 mile an hour. I can see there's at the end of the platform there is an off. The signal's off. So again, I know it's the train stopping at West Drayton in front of us, so it's only a couple of sections ahead. I could, if I wanted to, press the map. So on the middle push pad on the PlayStation's joypad, if you press that, it brings the map up. You can look ahead and see all the signal aspects and where the train is. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cheat. The idea is try and play this as realistic as possible. So again, hover over the AWS to make sure I cancel it. Looks like we've got a green. Brilliant. So I've managed to get a green. So that's good. So we'll open her up, which is fine. But I'm expecting to get restrictive aspects by the time we get to at least Airport Junction, which is just round the corner here. So for anyone who doesn't know the map, Hayes and Harlington is the last sort of station in the TfL world before you turn off towards Heathrow, basically. So that's where your Heathrow Express and your Heathrow Connects and your Crossrails, as they call them, terminate at Hayes and Harlington at the moment. But eventually they should be going through to Heathrow, or TfL as they call them. So yeah, look at that. Look, we've got another double yellow. So again, like I say, I know we're approaching. We're about a mile and a half outside West Drayton, so we might also start slowing down because the train's going to be waiting in the platform doing its station duties. As you can see, actually to be fair, he's probably not even in the platform yet, because if that's a single yellow, he's not in the station yet. But the next signal does protect the junction, I think, off the top of my head. So yeah, going a little bit too quick, so I'll just drop the brake down a little bit there. Yeah. So as you can see, you are just doing this. Looks like we're going to be doing this all the way to Maidenhead. But I think it's good. I mean, like I say, the challenge is to try and keep. It's good practice, to be fair, because you've got to do quite a lot of stuff. And at the end of the day, what's the idea of a simulator is that you get put in this environment where you're doing all these different things. So it's good practice, and I think this is one of the better services, or I'm finding this, sorry, this is the first time I've done it, this is the better service to one of these type of services, better to good practice if you want to try and drive as realistic as possible. I mean, the ultimate driving realistic is if you got rid of all the displays. I would say I'm probably about 80 to 90% close to doing that. I think I could possibly get to that stage. I've been playing this map quite hard, and now I've got the service mode as well. That timetable as well. That does help. Oh, there we go. Stepped up the signal now. I mean, I'm gonna open up a little bit. I'm not going to open it up completely because there's no point. Because we're just going to end up on the tail again. They're just opening up as much. So yeah, it looks like it's not stepped up, so we'll just take it steady, and hopefully the next signal it might just step up in time for us to be able to put our foot down a little bit. So the next station for that service is going to be Ivor, because it stops everywhere now. So that's Ivor, Langley, Slough, Burnham, Taplow, Maidenhead, Twyford, Reading. We're only interested to Maidenhead, because after Maidenhead, Twyford's a big gap, it'll be gone, and we'll go into the York Relief at Twyford anyway. I would think if we're going into the Henley branch, we'd have to. So yeah, so yeah, there we go. Look, so there's West Drayton Station now. Is it? Yeah. And the aspect stepped up, so that train is well and truly on the move. But Ivor's not far away. In fact, Ivor is. Right, as far as Ivor, it's about, I'd say it's about 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah, so yeah, so it's about 3 or 4 minutes away, so that'll be powering back up again. So we'll probably get a bit of a run for a bit now before it stops at Ivor, because I think look at the timetable, it's due in Ivor at 19:28, so we're probably about 2 or 3 minutes behind it. So no point rushing. I think I'm just going to coast coast along. I mean, that was a single yarrow anyway, so there's absolutely no point sort of breaking our necks really. I'm going to try and see if I can get leave the aspects to step up if I can get the aspects to kind of step up to at least 2 yellows, that'd be lovely, and have a little bit of a run. But like I say, there's no point trying to be Nigel Mansell, I believe, was a train driver, because it ain't going to work. Yeah. So while we're sort of stepping up and stepping down through here, just go back just a little one about the vigilance of the DSD. Another way you can cancel DSD, so if you do forget to press the DSD regular and it does go off, you can cancel it using the pedal, circle on your joypad, or just moving the controller, because that means that there's movement, there's been interference, you're not dead basically. It's the old dead man's vigilance, to know that you're still vigilant. So looks like we've got a red there, look. So maybe that is another platform, perhaps, which doesn't really correspond with the timetable, but hey ho. Unless that was it either? I'm saying that. Oh no, because it was booked through. Let's have a look at the timetable for sure. By the way, the timetable, the service mode timetable is available. The only thing I'll be aware of for anyone who has it on the console is that there are trains on this timetable which must be PC only. So, for instance, there's 42 past the hour services that disappear at West Ealing. They're actually the Greenfords. They are not on the console version. So, just fair warning you. There's also a couple of empty stock movements that aren't on the console versions either. I've not got a full list of which is what, but yeah, I've noticed there's a few stock movements that are also not on the console version. So, not many. Don't get me wrong. It's not a hideous amount, but just to bear in mind the service, if you do find the timetable for the Great Western Express, it's there. So yeah, I mean, is that it's a single. It's got to be a single year, hasn't it? So, although I don't know, because I've took that long to get there, I don't know if it stepped up or not. I've not been paying much attention in that respect. So yeah, we'll take it steady. I mean, like I say, we know it's stopping everywhere. There really is no rush. Anyway, so just kind of go into the as we covered the safety systems. When you first set the cable post, you probably noticed you do not have the safety systems activated. So on the 166, the diesel multiple unit, the networker as they call them, to activate all the safety systems, it's 3 steps. So to the left top corner of the driver's instruments, there is a row of black buttons. So if you go to the second and the third button, that's your TPWS, which is default isolated. You set that to normal. You've got your DSD, which is default isolated. You set that to normal. Now there is also a vigilance set, but that's already normal. But it won't work if the DSD is isolated. Yeah, you got me. Then if you turn around to the switches on the back panel, just the top row of switches in the middle, there's a switch for. It's the only switch you can move. It says AWS fuse. Flick that. And depending on how you got your cab set, you'll suddenly hear the AWS tone. You press circle, or if you're quick enough, press the AWS on the desk, and that will cancel it. And that's it. You're set up with all the safety systems, just in case people didn't know. I have covered it in another video somewhere, but I thought I'd quickly explain it. So, okay. Hang on, let me have a look. Maybe I've got the times wrong. So looking at this, oh, hang on. Oh, sorry, it's through over at 1924. I do apologise. It's 1924 through, and it's 1928. So it should be in Langley now. So it's a few minutes away. So hopefully it's a couple of mile away from us. So we might have to put our foot down a little bit. But again, like I say, it's not really worth putting out completely opening up. We're just going to end up right up its jacksy. Then it stops at Slough, and we are literally 2 minutes behind it. We're booked a minute behind at Langley and 2 minutes behind it at Slough. But I'm not going to go by the passing times. I'm going to just drive to my own conditions, because at the end of the day, as long as I get to Maidenhead at 1948, I'm not going to, you know, the passing points will whatever. I want to drive in a way. If you're driving this for real, you'd be driving the train as safe as possible. And of course, the best way of doing that is to not put yourself in a position where, nice to see, bye. Not yourself in a position where you're could spad because past the signal danger and the game's over. As you've probably seen, for anyone, I don't know, obviously people who probably played the PC version will probably get that anyway, would notice it. But obviously in the console version, they have shortened the length of the HST to 2+6. The reason why Dovetail to do that was to allow, it's just memory. It just enables more trains to run. And to be honest, I prefer to have more trains running than being shorter than to have longer trains and not have as many of them. Don't get me wrong, it's not exactly a full realistic service, but it's still quite well padded out. Now the other thing I do, just deliberate, oh, and I've actually, oh look at, oh that's the what's that? That's just past us, 166. So that is 1 Delta 39. So that's the 1918 Oxford, and that's right away. That's right away Maidenhead as well, believe it or not. But it overtakes us. But hey, this is the experience. That's a straightforward run. That can be a bit boring earlier on. So I've been playing this for a few hours. And I thought I'd record this one because I did notice in the timetable that it follows this local. So I thought, oh, I'll record it, see what it's like. But what I've done today, so if I just give you a quick rundown, I'm going to type these diagrams up. Oh, we can power up a bit now because we've got a bit of a run to Slough. So he booked in Slough, isn't he? That training front, sorry, I keep saying he. Booked in Slough at 1932. So it should be getting there in a couple of minutes' time. So we're about 3 or 4 minutes behind it. So yeah, what I've done today was I do spawn. I don't, in service mode, I don't pick a train, although I do spawn mode. So what that is, you choose a human and a station and a time frame and the weather and all that to where I want to spawn, and then obviously when you spawn there, the relevant services at the time do appear. Right, so here's Langley. So we're a good distance now. We've opened up quite a good gap, and as you can see, we've got a double yellow, so that's good. That's quite good. So we've opened up the gap slightly, but we don't want to go mad and completely open up. So I'll leave it at 6 for the time being, and see how we get on. But obviously, eventually, we're going to be. I'd say confidently we're going to end up facing a red as we approach Slough. Ultimately, I'd like to try and hand back as much as possible so we don't see too many reds. Or I don't want to stop. So my challenge is not to stop. Okay, that's how I'm trying to play it. Bit of defensive driving, as they call it in the trade. Yeah. So I digress. So what I did was I spawned to Maidenhead as the human in current conditions. So I've tried to keep it autumn, and it's been rain. It's been dry. Although it is raining while I do this recording, so there's the double yellow again, brilliant. So I spawned into Maidenhead. What time did I spawn in? At, apologies, I'm just looking there. So we're 6.9 mile away from Maidenhead, yet we're still 15 minutes away. So just shows you how long we've got. So I spawned into Maidenhead. Where is it? I'm trying to find the train. Oh. Sorry, where is it? Can't find it. How are we doing now? Single yellow. Yeah, so I spawned into Maidenhead at 1640. Okay, and when I got there, there was a unit waiting in the back road, so to speak, to take back to London empty stock. So that's 3 November 403 N40, which is the 1646 Maidenhead to London Paddington. So I took that back to London, and I got there on time. So I got out my unit at Paddington. And then I jumped in onto 2 Delta 55, which is the 1715 to Maidenhead Terminator, which is a semi-fast because it stops at Ealing Broadway, Southall, Hayes and Harlington, then Langley Slough, Burnham and Maidenhead. That got into Maidenhead at 1756, terminated. I then actually stayed. I then had approaching a red now, look. Oh, beautiful, look at that. So look at that, not had to stop, fantastic. So off we go, keeping it steady, single yellow. I know I've opened up to full, there is the red and platform, but I'm hoping that by the time we get round to the platform, it should have cleared to at least a single yellow, because he should be, that train ahead should be going 10 to the dozen. So hopefully we'll get a bit of a run. There's a bit of a gap between stations at Burnham and Taplow. The biggest gap is between Maidenhead and Twyford. After Maidenhead, we should not see it. It should be, that train ahead should be gone. Yeah, so sorry, I digress. So yeah, look, it looks like, is there a single yellow at the end of the platform? Looks like it. So I'll take it steady. I'll power up a little bit. Oh, sod it. Just open it up. Might as well get going. I mean, I'd love to say I'm bored, but I'm not. I'm actually quite enjoying this constant cancelling of the ADOS and control. Yeah. It makes it much more interesting than just stopping and starting at the stations, or just opening up and letting it fly along. It gives you something more to do, because even stopping and starting at the stations, I mean, I enjoy that too, but it's very routine and you get used to it, whereas this is a little bit more, you don't know what's going to happen, you can only guess what's going to happen. It happens a lot with the freight trains. Yeah, so sorry, I digress. So we went to Maidenhead. I then terminated at Maidenhead. It terminated at 1756, and I waited for 19 minutes. So I did a few chores around the house, left it running, and I come back, and then it formed the 1815, I want to say. Yep, 2 Papa 73, which again is a sort of semi-fast back to London. Then this unit, I changed ends in this unit, and it formed this service. I thought, all right, I'll take it, because I had my arm doing this service anyway in the timetable, and it just happened to be the same unit. So I was quite lucky. Oh, double yellow. So we're opening that gap quite nicely. So just another thing to forewarn people: if you do have the safety systems isolated, get into the habit of, sorry, not isolated, sorry, instated, so to speak, used. When you finish with the train, at terminating, and there's a chance that you're going to have to take this unit back out, any train, whether it be the HST or the 166, get into the habit of isolating the safety systems. And the reason why is because if you change ends on that unit and you leave all the safety systems on, when you go to leave, you'll suddenly find out when you get to a certain, like about a minute or two outside the station that you've just left, your brakes will come on, because the vigilance goes off. It doesn't disengage. Unfortunately, it's not clever enough to, the software's not clever enough to turn it off. I have actually put it on the forum to dovetail, but I suppose it's a little code they'll have to look at sorting out, but I've not had a response. So yeah, just get in the habit, especially if you're going to be swapping ends on the same train, of isolating the safety systems before you get out the cab when you finish your service. Yeah, just another little tip. Right, another single yellow, so let's slow down a little bit, as the train will be in platform at Burnham now, so we don't want to be we don't want to be too zealous. Sometimes I can put the brake on a bit too hard, but like I say, I don't want to stop. So far we've got away with not having to stop at all. I mean, God, it must be so boring if you're an actual passenger. I mean, I have been on one of these trains where you're following a late, not a planned train, but a late running train. Where you're following a stopper, and it is just so laborious. I'd rather the trains to stop at the stations. It's like, well, it's a bit of a strange train, because at the end of the day, the one in front stops everywhere, Angus to Maidenhead. So I suppose in reality, if you're going to Maidenhead or Twyford, you might as well get on the train in front, because you're going to get there just as quick. Whereas this is better for the Henley-on-Thames Massive. So those are the only people that probably catch it, or people who just want to get a seat, because I bet not so many people will be on this, because it doesn't stop as many places. Although it doesn't really matter in the TSW world, because the passenger counts aren't realistic, but in the real world that would be the case. So yeah, got another red there, look, so that's that train ahead is sat in Burnham station at the moment doing station duties. So we've got 10 minutes till we're booked into Maidenhead, so there's only one more stop after this, so that's Taplow. So he's at Burnham, so yeah, cancel my AWS and just hover over the brake controller. If you do hover over the brake controller, you first press X and that brings you the gauge, and then you just use the direction, the left stick to change which way you're going to pull the controller. Sorry, I should have explained that at the beginning. I'm sure a lot of you already are watching this have already played this a few times already, and they're just watching to see what's what. There we go, another single yellow. Like I say, I'm not going to open it up completely. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying this, if I'm honest. I am quite enjoying it. It really does feel like I'm driving. It really does feel like I'm proper involved in this, and I do feel like I'm properly driving it. It is certainly much more. You're thinking a lot more than stopping and starting at each station. Yes, okay. When you're stopping and starting at each station, yes, you still have signals to contend with. You still have junctions that you'll cross over. You still have the braking distances you've got to work out, etc., etc. Yes, you still have all that, but it becomes quite routine. If you do so many services, eventually you get used to where the braking distances are and all that sort of jazz. And I've got used to that now, so I was trying to find some more left field services to try and, stop the content being content. So I like blowing my horn as well for the stations. It's better when I'm going fast, of course. But yeah, I thought we'd give a toot on the horn there to go through Burnham, even though we're still miles away. But hey, that horn just sticks sometimes if you don't get it right. But yeah. So yeah, going back to the control panel and the controls. If you're going to do this with the controller, it is good. It's easy. So like yeah, as we said earlier, on this train, you only really need your right shoulder controllers. Circle to cancel AWS and DSD or vigilance. Your right controller, hold down R3 as it's called, brings you the cursor, and you can move it around. And the left moves the actual screen around. As you can see, I've pretty much stayed in this position. So this position that I've got set here is perfect because I've got the whole vision of the cab instruments that I need. I can still see the DSD, although I've not needed to press DSD, as you probably noticed, because I'm constantly moving the controller up and down. I don't need to keep engaging the DSD. It's only if I know I'm going to have a long lull where I'm not going to be touching the controller that I will interact with the DSD to stop it from beeping. So far it's only beeped once, and I was about to move the controller anyway. So that would have cancelled it out. So yeah, open up a bit now because we know he's on his way to Taplow. So we've got another 7 minutes before we're due in Maidenhead. So hopefully, if I've timed it right, we will get to Maidenhead on time. It's always a bit nervous because you could screw yourself up. So it's very good practice. I mean, it's very entertaining. I really do suggest that you try and come to these sort of missions because they are very entertaining, these sort of services. And if you can get the timetable downloaded, work out some diagrams. Now I have been going through and working out some diagrams to kind of have a good play of it. Now obviously obviously it's good that you can save the sessions. The only thing I find is, the good thing about the PlayStation, you've got a resume function, so you can go into rest mode and come back to it. Brilliant. The issue you have, I don't know if anyone else has spotted this, is that if you save and then you exit the game, as sometimes I have to because my lad wants to play on his games, when I go back to it, there's something missing, an objective marker's missing, or the stops have missed, and you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, let's take it steady. We're approaching another red. So yep, now we're approaching Taplow. So again, the trainer head's doing the station duty. So we'll just cover the AWS there. So again, like I say, I'm taking it steady so that I don't have to rush with the cursor. So if I can, oh, there we go, single yellow. So obviousit changed. I put the power up slightly, cover the AWS, of course. So when that goes off, I can quickly hammer it. So yeah, that's how I play. So far, as you've seen, I have been literally using the cursor to do all the controls. Okay. I've not had to use the shortcuts on the keypad, on the joypad. But going back to the joypad, if you do want the shortcuts, the D-pad, the directional pad, the 4 directions. You've got if you've got the left button, if you just tap it, starts your wipers. You tap it again, it makes it faster. Tap it again, it makes it faster. Tap it again, it will stop. It might be a 4-stage one. I can't remember. It might be 3 or 4 stage. I can't remember. If you hold the left, you then get the option to unlock your doors. And if you stood at a red signal, request to the signal to pass, which 9 times out of 10 they say no. If you hold the right, sorry, yeah, and if you tap the right direction, it goes through your marker lights on the front of the train. So your daylight, your night light, your marker lights, your tail lights, and off. If you hold it down, you get the option for you to choose. So we're just approaching Taplow. So right, so there's where the pressure's on now. We've got 4 minutes to get to Maidenhead. Now, yeah, okay, we're only just under 2 miles away. However, you have to also bear in mind that train will be stopping at Maidenhead, and we are booked in the same platform. So I would like to think that after Maidenhead, we will get a good run. In fact, I'm going to go out on a whim and say, I reckon, and I will just open it when we leave Maidenhead. We got because we should have a green. That the first restrictive aspect we should see should be just outside Ruscombe Village, which is a couple of bridges outside, which will be telling us to slow down because we will have to cross over from the down relief onto the up relief into the up relief platform because to get onto the Henley on Thames branch. That should be hopefully the next restrictive aspect we should see after Maidenhead. I hope. So that's because hopefully that train should be in Twyford and probably gone by the time we get there. So that's what I'm betting. So obviously we're approaching, not far off Maidenhead now. There's a junction ahead as well. So what, that 1.1 miles before our next stop, start braking a little bit because we're approaching a restrictive aspect. There's also, although it doesn't really matter to us, it's a 75 mile an hour speed through Maidenhead, but it doesn't matter to us because we're stopping. But we probably have to still acknowledge the speed anyway. There's a few other little anomalies I've found with this. Like for instance, it tends to want you to acknowledge AWS, the AWS on speeds that won't affect your train. So when they divert off onto a siding or into a loop or whatever, or a junction that you're not going to go on, it wants you to acknowledge that. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not going that way, so what are you asking me to do? It should be suppressed, what they call suppressed. So in theory, the magnet should know that you're not going that way, so it shouldn't want you to acknowledge anything. But hey, nothing's perfect. Just while we're talking, we might talk a little bit about TSW. I've also got the West Somerset route. Now, I've only got the British routes. I'm not interested in the foreign ones. If anyone that hears, you carry on doing your research. That's completely up to you. That's nothing against anyone. It's just that I'm comfortable with my national railway, and I'm quite happy. I know how it all works. I'm familiar with the routes, the trains, so that's why I'm playing it. I may have a go with the other ones eventually when I'm a bit more confident, and I'll have worn this one out. I've got the West Somerset railway route. I do like that. It's quite enjoyable. It's a bit slow. It's a bit tedious at times. It's clever because you do have to do a lot of driving. But I had a bit of a go with that for a bit. And you also, you can run around trains and uncouple and shunts and stuff. Brilliant. But, right, let's just power up a bit to go to Maidenhead because he should now have left Maidenhead because, hey, but pressure's now to get in at 1948. Look, we're nearly there. So look at that, look. It looks like we're going to get to Maidenhead on time. So the timetable's worked. So it does work. And obviously, I've managed to maintain the train enough to not lose too much time to end up being trailing all the way back. I mean, if I wanted to, I could have been a complete arse and just gone constantly slow all the way and then end up being late. But no, I've tried my best to kind of feather the power control to not come to a standard tour, but also maintain a relatively good speed in between sections. So here we go. Take it steady now coming in. I try and hit the platforms, depending on how big the platform is, at between 40 and 30. I'm going a little bit too slow, probably because I wasn't going very fast. Normally, when I'm doing high speed, the dropping down from a high speed, you've got more. You have to think a bit more. So I tend to try and use one brake so I get a nice smooth stop, especially when you get to the coach markers. As you can see, there's 3 coach markers to kind of align your train up to. Oh, look, so there's a double yellow already. Look, so that'll be green by the time we've done station duties. So there we go. Drop 1. We're doing 10. Put it to 2 to try and stop at that marker. So this tries to stop you at the stop board. So there'll be the 2 and 3 stop board, or 3 board, or rest board to the left. Right. So we've stopped in braking 2. I've unlocked the doors. Right. So I use the buttons on the left hand side. Sorry if you missed that. I use the buttons on the left hand side. Then what I do, the doors have opened, so the interlock kicks in, which you can isolate again with the instruments at the top left hand side of the driver's panel. So as you can see, my brake reservoir has got 1 bar, so that is holding the brake. So the traction interlocking is holding the brakes on. So I've got it on neutral. I've got it in 0, sorry, the centre. So I've got myself ready over the train door closer. Again, that's manual. I can use the buttons. If you didn't want to use the buttons, you just hold left direction and the option to unlock left and right. Obviously, unlock left in this case. So there you go. So there I am waiting. Just waiting for the bedding. Now, if you got there early enough, sometimes you have to wait for a departure time. That isn't going to be the case. I think we'll be doors locked straight away. So if I was to wait departure time, what I tend to do is at around 53 seconds before the time, I'll shut the doors. So by the time the doors have all shut, right, get the doors shut, and I'm going to be realistic and buzz the guard. Normally the guard should buzz, go, and you then reply with buzz, buzz. Obviously there isn't a guard, so I'll just do it manually. So yeah, what I'll do is I normally shut, if I'm waiting time, I normally shut the doors at 53. By the time all the doors have shut, it's time to depart. The brake is, I've got brake and I can pull off. So yeah, we've got a green signal. So I've opened up now. We'll put our foot down. So what we're saying then, that train should be well gone by now. I'd like to think that by the time we get to Twyford, the first restrictive action we see, hopefully, should be to slow us down to get us onto the up relief. So, oh yeah, again, I'm talking again in technical terms. So anyone who doesn't know, the tracks on the left-hand side are the fast lines. The tracks that we're on now are called the relief lines. In some other regions, so like for instance, when you go into London St Pancras, London Euston, King's Cross, etc., they're called the slow lines usually. However, the Western, always being different in their regional descriptions, or generally call their lines the relief lines. But really, they're the slow lines. That's how I interpret them. That's how I've always known them. I'm actually from the Midlands, so I'm used to fast lines and slow lines. But I love the Western, I love their quirks, so they're the relief lines. So at the moment we are traversing the down relief line. So look, another green. To the left of me is the up fast, and obviously the far side is the down fast. So that is 125 miles an hour. So that's for where your HSTs mostly use. Well, they all pretty much use that. Very rare HSTs running the relief lines unless it's being regulated, it's an empty stock, or it's booked on the relief line. So yeah, so the 166s generally use the relief lines, but as you've seen, you do get some of them using the fast lines. So the ones that don't stop anywhere apart from us, like that one that went past us, the Oxford, that flew past us, and there was one going the other way. They tend to use them. They sometimes use them all the way. Sometimes they might skirt over at certain junctions. As you've seen, we've been through quite a few junctions en route. They sometimes skirt over and skirt back again. That's the other thing as well that can be quite annoying with TSW. Sometimes, especially if you've got a bit of a gap between stations, it will cross you over at certain junctions and cross you back again at the next one, and for absolutely no reason. And it's really annoying because, oh, okay, it keeps you. You're in the HST, look, going 125. It keeps you busy, but you have to slow down, and then you have to speed up, then you slow down, and you speed up again. It's a bit like, is it worth it? One other annoying thing as well, especially when you're going towards Reading on the down, is that you tend to always get crossed over at Twyford North Junction. You tend to always be crossed over onto the fast, and then you end up staying on the fast pretty much all the way to Reading or Kennet Bridge, and you end up crossing back over onto slow again, and onto the relief again. Sorry, and I just think, why? Why does it do that? And it seems to be virtually every time I do it, I never ever seem to have much of a run down a down relief, which is a bit of a pain because you have to slow down to go over the junction both directions. Whereas if I went on the down relief, I could just hammer it and then slow down when I approach Reading. But hey, just these little quirks. Now, this is probably the only stretch of the line now where you actually get a good run between stations. So Twyford is a bit of a distance away, about 4 or 5 miles away from Maidenhead. Now, these signals, just cutting in, these signals are quite close together, I've noticed. I noticed this when I was on HST and actually reduced restrictive aspects. But these are quite together. I think the main reason is because they're not too far away from Ruscombe Junction, which is a high-speed junction. So Ruscombe Junction is just the other side of Waltham St Lawrence, which we're not far from approaching Waltham now. I do apologise about that. This is an evening train. I know it's dark and you probably can't see a lot, but that is also the fun of it. What I do find in the dark is that you see the signal aspects better. Yeah? Because you can see them further in the distance, but in the daytime it's difficult to pick them out. So yeah, we're approaching not far from Waltham, and Ruscombe Junction is a high-speed junction. When you cross over, it's 75, I want to say. And I have, in real life, I have been to this location and filmed HSTs, and we've watched them cross over at high speed, and it is phenomenal to watch as they snake over at speed. I know 75 don't seem fast compared to 125, but it's fast enough when you're going over a high speed junction. So there's restrictive aspects on the fast look. I can't recall anything overtaking us, so they're just not set the route at the junction, I suppose. We've got greens as we approach Ruscombe. So we've just gone through Wolf St Lawrence, so this is approaching Ruscombe Junction now, and then we're approaching Ruscombe Village. So I'm guessing that the next signal after this one, or would it be this one, should be a double yellow or restrictive aspects, because we should start pegging down to cross over. I can't remember. It's 25. So if you just look to the right there, it says if you just look to the right, top right hand corner, it says 1.1 miles. 25 mile an hour. So that is telling me that they've set the route for us to go over onto the up relief at the reduced speed of 25. The crossing is 25 mile an hour. So what's this? Double yellow. So here you go. Look, the first restrictive aspect. So that'll be, and because the route's already set, I'm confident that it's not because of the train ahead. It's because they've got the route. So we've done well. The train's gone now. So we've done well to open that gap. We've ended up at Maidenhead on time, and look at the time now. We're pretty much going to get to Twyford on time as well. So Twyford's just up here now. It's only a couple of bridges now. So if we just start easing off, because we're going quite quick considering we're approaching a 25 mile an hour junction. So that's the last, that's the Ruscombe Village Bridge. So here's the single yellow. So this will be the single yellow and should have a feather to take us over onto the up release. So these dots that are above there tells you that you're crossing over. I should have explained that back at Paddington, that you're crossing over onto another line. And the next signal would be a red, which will be in the platform at Twyford. So yeah, we're there. So yeah, we're just ready to finish this our journey. I've enjoyed it. I have to admit, I've enjoyed doing all that. So let's just slow down a bit now. We're doing 25, so I'm just going to leave it. I'll put a little bit of power on just to leave it to coast over the junction there. And you can just see the stop marker there, 200 odd yards ahead. We're already going slow, so this is the only thing when you're going so slow. Your braking distance is going completely out the window, because you have to kind of look. I'm still powering, look. So let's and of course I've also got an AWS magnet to cancel. So this is going to be interesting. So let's get that brake on. Get over to the AWS. No, quick. Bang, and then back over to the controller. Oh. Brilliant. So it can be done even with the console. You can do these quick moves. It is a bit tricky, and I wish they had a snap on to get them doors open, to press the door release on the right hand side, so they're slightly further round on the. So there's your white light to say that the lights are open. I've put the controller back to 0, the interlock's on. As you can tell from the brake gauge is the left hand gauge, the smaller gauge. The right hand needle has moved up, which means it's on that. It's got that little bit of air in the system. You can also look on your graphics studio on the bottom right hand side and see that your brake is on as well. Oh no, I am on 1 actually. Sorry, I haven't put it to 0. I'm stuck on 1, but that's because I'm getting out of the train anyway, so I don't really care. So I'm not particularly bothered. But to complete the service, then you have to open your doors, let all the passengers load, and then you close the doors, and the service will be completed. So we'll just let the passengers load, unload, whatever. As you can see, the next signal is that red signal there, which takes you onto the branch. That's the only way you can go in that direction. You cannot traverse beyond the platform towards Reading, signalled. So the only signal move you can do is onto the Henley branch in this direction. There is no other way of doing it. So look at that, look! On time at Maidenhead, on time at Twyford. Excellent. Nice and on time, really enjoyable. I really enjoyed that. So I'm going to get up at the cab, and do you know what? Just for a laugh, I'm going to stay on it. There's no lights on, look. I'm going to stay on it you can turn the lights on for the Waiting Saloon in the driver's cab. There's all sorts of different buttons on that left-hand wall. So I think I'm going to have a ride it to Henley. You don't get to Henley, you just go around the corner and then it turns off. But I think I'm going to have a ride up to Henley. So yeah, so I'm going to have a sit down. You can just watch what's going on. So what normally happens is it will take me to a lot of service. It'll assume I have because I won't be sat in the driver's seat, and then it'll drive off automatically. And then when it gets to the border, it will close. So yes. So I hope that that has been useful. I hope that I've been able to give you a few tips and pass on a bit of my experience. Just to kind of reiterate, I am not a professional train driver. My dad used to be a professional train driver, but I'm not a professional train driver. Unfortunately, I am unable to be a professional train driver because of my colour vision, because I've got a colour deficiency, which means I don't pass the test to do any roles that involve signalling, platform dispatching, train managing, scene conducting, and obviously ultimately driving, where potentially you could be on the track in what they call personal track safety, or PTS. So I can't do those duties, unfortunately. So no, I'll never be a driver. So this is the next best thing for me, which is why I enjoy it so much. And there's probably many other people like that as well. Also, getting into driving is it's difficult to get into unless there's academies being run. Right, so there you go, 2000. It's telling me to alight. It knows I'm not sat in the cab, so it should complete the service, and then it should leave at any minute. So is it going to go? Oh, there you go. Look, so there you go. Ejector complete. We're ordered. There's my service. Continue, and then it should start moving. There you go. He's off. We're off to Henley. Well, we're not really. We're off to the outskirts of Twyford. But yeah. But obviously, this again another great thing about this game. You can act as a passenger. Absolutely brilliant. I did it on a high-speed train, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. Just sat back, put myself a cup of tea, just watch the world go by. I really enjoy it. This is a really good simulator. There has been people that do slate it a little bit. I really like it. I think the graphics are good. I think it runs really well. There's lots of detail. I think Dovetail has done a really good job. They just need to get a world edited release now so that people can do their own worlds, because that's what makes rail simulations so good. Anyway, listen, we're going to disappear into darkness in a minute. Thanks for listening. Thanks for patience. I hope you've took away some good tips from this. Check out that service mode timetable. Get yourself some diagrams set. So yeah, peace out. Enjoy.